Hey everybody, in this video we are going to be going over the Monday column for week 3's homework. So Monday's column asks us to solve the inequality using addition or subtraction. And if you need to refer back to your notes, this is the 4.2 notes, but I'll be going over some of the components of those notes in this video. So for solving inequalities using addition or subtraction, we need to be aware of two properties that are referred to as the addition and subtraction property of inequalities. So this is a fancy way of saying that adding or subtracting the same number to both sides of an inequality maintains the truth of the inequality. So that means that adding or subtracting any number, as long as it's the same number, to both sides of an inequality, then the comparison symbol is going to remain the same because the truth of the inequality is going to remain the same. So let me give you a quick example of what that means. And we're just going to move this over here. So let's say that I had, instead of this inequality here, let's say I had something like 3, let's say I had 3 is less than 5. So we know that this is a true statement, and so what these properties over here are saying is that adding or subtracting any number, as long as it's the same number to both sides, doesn't change this comparison symbol in the middle. The truth of the inequality stays the same. So think about it as, for example, if I decided that I wanted to add 2 to both sides of the inequality. Adding 2 to the left side would give me 5, and then adding 2 to the right side would give me 7. And then the comparison symbol, as we can see, is going to remain the same. 5 is still going to be less than 7. So that's only true, though, if we added the same number. If we had decided on the left side to add something like 10, then that 3 plus 10 would be 13, and this would no longer be true. 13 is not less than 7. And so that's why adding or subtracting the same number on both sides is what maintains the truth. So what we need to do for these inequalities, in order to solve these inequalities on Monday's column, is that we need to add or subtract the same number to both sides, and the goal is to get x by itself, and getting x by itself is what's going to tell us what values x can equal to make this true. So getting x by itself is what's going to tell us what values x can equal to make this inequality true. And so that means that because the x is on the left side, x is going to remain on the left side. The comparison symbol we just talked about, how in adding or subtracting, is going to stay the same. So it's still going to be a less than symbol. We just need to figure out now, what am I going to add or subtract to both sides in order to get this x by itself, which means that I'm going to need to get rid of this minus 5 that's next to it. And so this is where you use the inverse operation. So an inverse operation is it's kind of like saying the opposite operation. And so here for x minus 5 is less than negative 3, you want to use the inverse operation of subtraction, and the inverse or opposite of subtraction is going to be addition. And so to that minus 5, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 5 to both sides of that, and that's going to give me my solution of x, and then x minus 5 plus 5 is just x, is less than, and then negative 3 plus 5, that's going to take me all the way to positive 2. X is less than 2, or x is all values that are less than 2. X is all values less than 2. And if we were to graph that, this to x is all values less than 2, so therefore x is going to be going in the left direction. Our arrow is going to be going in the left direction, and we're going to be having an open circle because x cannot equal 2. X is only all values that are less than 2. And so we don't use a closed circle, we use an open circle to represent that x cannot equal 2. And then it's to the left because x is all values less than 2. Okay, let's go ahead and try another one. So for all of these on Monday's column, there are 5 total, not too many. So for all of these, you are going to be getting the variable by itself. And then the symbol is going to stay the same. So this is still going to be a greater than symbol. This will still be a less than. this will still be a less than, and then this will still be a less than. But notice how on this one, the G is on the right side. So you got to make sure that you're keeping the variable on the same side. I do see some people switching it up. Make sure you keep the variable on the same side. And so you're going to need to do the opposite or the inverse operation for all of these problems and determine what's going to be the number that's left on the other side. Just as a reminder, you should, anytime you're doing the inverse operation for addition or subtraction, you should always end up with opposites on top of one another. So here we have -5 and +5. And then that same number that you use on the left side, you're going to also need to use that same number on the right side. So you are going to have opposites on top of one another, like this -5 and +5. And then that same number needs to be used on the other side, because whatever you do to one side of the inequality, you need to do the same thing to the other side of the inequality. So I think that should be enough information to get you to the answers that you need. You don't have to, it's not asking you to graph them, just asking you to solve them. So go ahead and do the rest on your own. If you want, I can do one more with you. Let's do number 4. And you'll see that these just get really straightforward. These become super fast once you understand everything that's going on. So if I have t minus 5 is less than -7, I want to get the t by itself. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the inverse operation of subtraction, which is addition. And I'm going to get rid of that 5, so I'm going to be doing +5. And whatever I do to the left side or the right side, I'm going to do to the other side. That's going to leave me with the t on the left side because the -5 and the +5 will cancel out. The symbol is going to stay the same because of the addition property of inequalities. And then -7 + 5, that's going to leave me with -2. So therefore, t is all values less than -2. All right, guys, good luck on the rest of them on your own.